You're locking me out again.
Again, okay. I will stop for a minute because we have to see the text also. Maybe everybody has his own text. I don't know, or her own text.
I have my own.
Yes, but not everyone. That's the point. And we are making recordings, yes, which people can follow later. Narod, are you there? Narod disappeared for some reason. Oh, I think he has bad connection. Or maybe he pressed the wrong button. It's also possible.
Okay. Now we're back.
Okay,
Very
good.
good. All right.
Can I
So,
project?
if you do it small, like I can do it, I can manage. So we are seeing now in this
Disappeared again?
in this kingdom of intelligent littleness, we see around him, this is Ashwapati, in the moment beats of time, the kingdom of the animal self arose, where deed is all, and mind still half-born, and the heart obeys a dumb, unseen control. Well, there's a lot in these 4 lines, because he is now seeing in this kingdom of the little life the manifestation of the kingdom of the animal self. Now, the animal self, he says, where deed is all. So the animal lives only on instinct. There's nothing good or bad that the animal can do because mind is still half born. When the animal kills, it kills for food and to feed its young. We often have very skewed views about animals. I saw one time these people complaining that the cat was so vicious that it would toss a mouse up and down in the air when the mouse wasn't even dead yet. And if one really understood what was happening, one would know that the cat was softening the meat for its young ones. There's nothing ill, nothing evil, nothing malicious in the animal world. So he says here, this kingdom of the animal self arose, where deed is all, and even mind is still half born. So there is perhaps a rudimentary mind in the animals, but it is indeed very rudimentary. And the heart obeys a dumb, unseen control. So animal is hungry, it has to kill something. The force that works by the light of ignorance, her animal experiment began, crowding with conscious creatures her world scheme. But to the outward only were they alive. Only they replied to touches and surfaces, and to the prick of need that drove their lives. So, yes, these are early animals, perhaps, early stage of the evolution, these conscious creatures of the animal experiment, but they're only outwardly alive because they just reply to these instinctual touches, to the prick. The prick is a goad or a spur, the prick of need that drove their lives. A body that knew not its own soul within, there lived and longed, had wrath and joy and grief. So we have to remember that we are in the kingdoms of the little life. So we see that then a mind comes in. A mind was there that met the objective world as if a stranger or enemy at its door. Its thoughts were needed by the shocks of sense. It captured not the spirit in the form. It entered not the heart of what it saw. It looked not for the power behind the act. It studied not the hidden motive in things, nor strove to find the meaning of it all. Now, this is extraordinary. You have 4 lines with it, and even 1 line, it's. So let's go through it all. This mind that is meeting the objective world is meeting it like a stranger or an enemy at its door. Its thoughts were needed by the shocks of sense. Well, anyone who's ever made bread knows what kneading is. And so its thoughts are only needed by these shocks of sense. Rain or storm lashes at the face, or high winds burn the skin, or intense heat, these shocks of sense. Therefore, it captured not the spirit in the form. So it's unable to see that there is a spirit in the form. And of course, that's what we are here for also, to discover the psychic being that is in us, but hidden at the moment under veils. It entered not the heart of what it saw. It looked not for the power behind the act. It studied not the hidden motive in things, nor strove to find the meaning of it all. Now, we're going to see here that there is a new form of life. Beings were there who wore a human form. Absorbed, they lived in the passion of the scene, but knew not who they were or why they lived. Content to breathe, to feel, to sense, to act, life had for them no aim save nature's joy and the stimulus and delight of outer things. Today we would call that hedonistic. Just the joy of feeling, the content to feel, to sense, to act, and this joy of nature, and this stimulus and delight of outer things. Well, I think most of us can say that we've been there. We have enjoyed the stimulus and the delight of outer things. But of course, now we're no longer totally invested in them because we are now seeking a higher knowledge. So after that semicolon, he says, identified with the spirit's outward shell, they worked for the body's wants. They craved no more. So we can see that even here, there was no maliciousness. They just craved no more than this joy and stimulus and delight of outer things. And they are only identified with the spirit's outward shell. In other words, the form of things, the forms of themselves. Therefore, they worked for the body's wants and they crave no more. Now he's going to tell us something else. Remember, now we always have to go back. We are in Canto 4, the kingdoms of the little life. Ashapati is ascending stair by stair. Watching from their depths, fixed not his inward eye upon himself, nor turned to find the author of the plot. He saw the drama only and the stage. So, who is this veiled spectator? Well, he's the witness self. So the witness self is there in these beings that seem to be like humans. And he's watching from the depths of these beings, but he's not fixing his inward eye upon himself. And he doesn't even turn to find the author of the plot. Why are they there? Why are they alive? Why do they do this and that? Because he's only seeing the drama and the stage. Sri Aurobindo continues, there was no brooding stress of deeper sense. We know what brooding is fixing on something, meditating on something, considering something, even sheltering something, as the hen with the eggs and the young chicks. There was no brooding stress of deeper sense. The burden of reflection was not born. Mind looked on nature with unknowing eyes, adored her boons, and feared her monstrous strokes. Okay. So there's no interest here, no reflective stress of deeper sense. And the burden of reflection was not born. So they did not look into themselves. He even says after that colon, that mind looked on nature with unknowing eyes. But he says, mind adored her boons and feared her monstrous strokes. Monstrous strokes, typhoons, earthquakes, lava flow. It pondered not on the magic of her laws. It thirsted not for the secret wells of truth, but made a register of crowding facts and strung sensations on a vivid thread. It hunted and it fled and sniffed the winds, or slothed inert in sunshine and soft air. It sought the engrossing contacts of the world, but only to feed the surface sense with bliss. Again, he is pure hedonism. Now, what is it doing here? Let's find out what it's doing. It doesn't ponder on the magic of these laws where they are living. It doesn't thirst even for the secret wells of truth. And truth here is the secret of life and power, Sri Aurobindo tells us in the human cycle. He tells us something else, but I'd like to quote Mother just for a bit. She says, the truth is not linear, but global. It is not successive, but simultaneous. Therefore, it cannot be expressed in words. It has to be lived. And lastly, I have a quote from her in volume 15. And I think this applies so much to each of us. Truth is a difficult and strenuous conquest. One must be a real warrior to make this conquest, a warrior who fears nothing, neither enemies nor death, for with or against body, the struggle continues and will end by victory. These lines are so pregnant with force and truth. Imagine that Mother says, with or without a body, which tells us that even when we leave this body, we have to carry that warrior strength within us. The struggle continues and will end by victory, even with or against everybody. So now we see that it pondered not on the magic of her laws. It thirsted not for the secret wells of truth, but made a register of crowding facts and strung sensations on a vivid thread. Oh, how beautiful. It hunted and it fled and sniffed the wind, just like an animal, like a deer will sniff the winds to see if there's any danger. Or sloth, inert in sunshine and soft air. Sloth here means passing time in idleness and laziness. It sought the engrossing contacts of the world, but only to feed the surface sense with bliss. These felt life's quiver in the outward touch. They could not feel behind the touch of the soul. To guard their form of self from nature's harm, to enjoy and to survive was all their care. I think that we can see that even today in the mass of humanity. Any questions?
Yeah, I had one. Um, on the line, it thirsted not for the secret wells of truth. Uh, when you were reading Mother's quotes, one of the sentences said, "We continue, we be the warriors even when we leave the body." So does that mean that these lines are referring to us in the human body form?
I could not really hear you. I'm trying to increase my speaker sound. Can you say it again?
Yeah, yeah. So line the line where it said, "It thirsted not for the secret wells of truth." You were reading to us mother's quotes on truth, and there it
Yes.
said we should be the warriors of truth, not just in body form, but even when we leave the body. So um, these lines are referring to us in the human body form.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
and how do we continue being warriors when we leave the body,
Well, we of course
like without the body?
we go to our place of rest, and in that place of rest, it is said strangely that only 2 years are spent there, and we take another body.
Okay.
Many would think it would be much longer, but it's only 2 years. So the answer here is that, in Mother's words, she's speaking about being a real warrior.
Mhm.
And she says, even we have to fear nothing,
Mm,
not enemies nor death.
mm, mm, mm,
Then she says, for with or against everybody, with or without a body. So the
mm.
struggle continues and will end by victory. So if we all believe in reincarnation, which I'm sure we all do, we know that the struggle is going to continue when we take a new body and when
Oh,
we
so
take
we
another new body.
we
And that
continue the work.
struggle will continue. With or without a body, we have to be warriors, and we have to understand that the struggle will continue, but it will end by victory.
So our efforts on the growth should continue nonetheless. Okay.
Okay. So can someone read all these lines for us? I have to go from the previous page. Natalie, you're very quiet recently. Can you do it?
Yes, sure. Right.
Thank you.
Around him, in the moment beats of time, the kingdom of the animal self arose, where deed is all and mind is still half born, and the heart obeys a dumb, unseen control. The force that works by the light of ignorance, her animal experiment began, crowding with conscious creatures her world scheme. But to the outward only were they alive. Only they replied to touches and surfaces, and to the prick of need that drove their lives. A body that knew not its own soul within, there lived and longed, had wrath and joy and grief. A mind was there that met the objective world, as if a stranger or enemy at its door. Its thoughts were kneaded by the shocks of sense. It captured not the spirit in the form. It entered not the heart of what it saw. It looked not for the power behind the act. It studied not the hidden motive in things, nor strove to find the meaning of it all. Beings were there who wore a human form. Absorbed, they lived in the passion of the scene, but knew not who they were or why they lived. Content to breathe, to feel, to sense, to act, life had for them no aim save nature's joy, and the stimulus and delight of outer things. Identified with the spirit's outward shell, they worked for the body's wants. They craved no more. The veiled spectator, watching from their depths, fixed not his inward eye upon himself, nor turned to find the author of the plot. He saw the drama only, and the stage. There was no brooding stress of deeper sense. The burden of reflection was not borne. Mind looked on nature with unknowing eyes, adored her wounds and feared her monstrous strokes. It pondered not on the magic of her laws. It thirsted not for the secret wells of truth, but made a register of crowding facts and strung sensations on a vivid thread. It hunted and it fled and sniffed the winds, or slothed inert in sunshine and soft air. It sought the engrossing contacts of the world, but only to feed the surface sense with bliss. This felt life's quiver in the outward touch. They could not feel behind the touch the soul of the soul. To guard the form of self from nature's harm, to enjoy and to survive was all their care.
Thank you. It was a long passage today, but I think it was quite understandable. Vladimir, would you have any comments?
Not really.
Okay, all right. Thank you all. Namaste.
Namaste.
See you next week.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, Narati.
You're
Namaste.
welcome.